The full moon was setting in the west and the sun rising in the east as we started out on the 2-hour drive from our Airbnb in Victor, Idaho, to the west entrance of Yellowstone. En route, a crop duster crossed our path, spraying a field with chemicals, and us too. But we finally made it to the park. And what a park it is. Yellowstone sits at 8,000 feet above sea level in the 40-mile-wide caldera of an active supervolcano that last erupted 175,000 years ago. The thermal vents scattered throughout the park are a constant reminder that you are sitting on top of a molten lava dome that lies just 5 miles below the surface. We stopped first at the Fountain Paint Pot Trail, which hosts a number of pools and other thermal features. The boiling mud pots may make you think of the Little Prince who had to constantly clean his volcanoes to prevent them from erupting. But the number one must-see attraction at Yellowstone is, of course, the Old Faithful geyser, which erupts spectacularly at more or less regular intervals. We waited patiently with the hundreds of other spectators while the geyser huffed and puffed. Until finally, the water and steam shot 100 feet in the air. Under the Yellowstone geyser, a large egg-shaped chamber is connected to the mouth of Old Faithful by a sort of pipe. After every eruption, water levels rise in the chamber and send steam bubbles into the conduit, which creates a bubble trap that leads to the eventual steam explosion. For 10,000 years before Europeans came to this place, Native Americans lived and worshipped here. As part of the 150-year anniversary of the park, a Native American cultural center has been established near Old Faithful. We watched this fascinating Native American performance, which follows each eruption. The magnificent Old Faithful Inn, possibly the largest log building in the world, stands a short distance from the famous geyser. Over 100 years old, the inn is an example of National Park Service rustic architecture. A walkway winds around the geyser field, offering different perspectives on Old Faithful. We stopped at one viewpoint where the next eruption was due, and waited, and waited, and waited, just as we were starting to think that the geyser was suffering from eruptile dysfunction. Old Faithful rewarded us with its spectacular display of gushing water. Tired but happy, we drove the 2 hours back to our B&B. The next morning in Yellowstone, we were excited to get our first sighting of the park's famous buffalo. Then we stopped at Grand Prismatic Spring. It disgorges 500 gallons of hot water per minute that flows into the Firehole River. The Grand Prismatic Spring is so named because bacteria growing at different temperatures produce all the colors of the rainbow. Buffalo sometimes visit the hot springs. We couldn't help coming to the Old Faithful geyser field once again. A walking path leads you from Old Faithful around a large area of geysers and pools. Each pool is fascinating in its own way, and you never get tired of looking at them. The Grand Geyser is neither as frequent nor as regular as Old Faithful. It takes the patience of Job to witness its eruption. But we did manage to catch some huffing, puffing, and spurting. Here are some more pools for your enjoyment. We couldn't get enough of them. The next day, we drove north toward Mammoth Hot Springs and scored another buffalo sighting. This narrow, winding road was a little scary, but has some lovely views along the way. Mammoth Hot Springs presents an ever-changing landscape with some formerly active areas now dead and dormant. But the areas that are active make for a mesmerizing kaleidoscope of intricate and remarkable terraces and pools. The terraces are formed from calcium carbonate in the water, which deposits the mineral travertine, a kind of limestone, essentially the same process as the creation of stalagmites and stalactites in caves. We spent a good 2 hours traversing the extensive system of walkways built over and around the terraces. I asked, "Are you a marmot?" And he replied, "Yes, I am."